This is it. I
There we
press
go.
the button.
Meeting
It
is
says
now
it on my-
streaming live on Facebook. Yeah!
Woo!
Woohoo!
We did it, guys.
We're here. We've arrived.
Hello,
Recording.
Little Rock Church. Let me make sure it's yep, we're on. How cool. All right.
Man,
Hey,
it's
Little Rock
on my-
Church. What'd you say, John?
That it says it on my side. It says recording and live on Facebook. So
We're doing both. This is the first time we've done this. We are sitting down. We do our weekly Minute with the Ministers, and we thought, let's just do this live. Let's put this on here and talk about the sermon on Sunday, following Christ, maybe what's going on in the church. How y'all doing today?
very good. Very good this morning. Got a good run in.
How many miles do you run?
Today I got 4.5 in. I mean, a total 5, but 4.5 running, and then 30 or half a mile walking. So that's the longest I've had in years. But
That's
today
impressive.
was a good run.
Yeah.
That's good. Usually when it's a little cooler, you can go a little bit longer because your body warms up, but you got the coolness to keep it going.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was crazy. I probably won't do it. I mean, I may not run tomorrow at all, but today it felt good.
As a self-described health expert, I really agree with the running. No, so let's talk before we talk about the sermon. Let's talk about what's going on at Little Rock Church. If you weren't here on Sunday, missed you all for sure. And maybe you were the kind of person you stayed at home, didn't feel comfortable. Completely okay. We get that, but we sure do miss you. We introduced yesterday something called the Jesus Story. Very excited about this, and it's pretty simple to do, but what's great about it is it gets you in the life of Christ. So it's a blending of the 4 Gospels, and maybe the Gospels really well. Maybe you've never read them before. Now's the perfect opportunity to start. If you'll read 10 pages a day, you get through the life of Christ in a month. And so we as a congregation can go through the life of Christ, and it's written in a little bit different format. It doesn't have like chapters and verses in there, and so you just read like whatever day you're on. So like today's the 6th. This morning I read pages 60 through 69. Tomorrow 70 through 79. And don't worry about catching up. Just once you get the book, start. So have you all read it at all yet?
I've not started. I need to
Okay.
start. So
Yeah, we read a little bit. It's really good. It's very readable. So I think that's a good thing. And I like kind of the unofficial reading plan. You take whatever day it is and you add a 0 to it, and you read 60 to 69. So read all of the 60s on the 6th, with it being about a 300-page book. Toward the end of the month, you won't have to read how they put it together and that kind of stuff per se. But yeah, like you said, getting into the story of Christ and getting into the life of Christ and trying to visualize and relive these moments as if we're there. I think, and it's a lot of people really like the flow of it. Just seems to flow better. You kind of feel like you're reading it like it's a book, so you can get through a lot more of it. So oftentimes with our Bibles, with our verses and chapters, it's like, oh, I don't want to read more than one chapter, so you stop. Yeah. But with this something, you just kind of keep going. So it's kind of a neat tool. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just when you read through it, ask the questions: what's Jesus doing? What's he talking about? What does he command people to do? And pray before you read it, pray after it, and really the whole idea is how we can become like Christ. And so the way to do that is to look at his life, his ministry, as a great start. So very excited about this. We'll talk about it this Sunday, and if you don't have a copy, just let us know or come get one. We will be happy to hook you up. We also have a luncheon this Sunday, John.
Yeah.
Can you share with us? Remind me what's the luncheon about?
Yeah, we have a hot dog luncheon this Sunday. It's really going to start at 11. So our service is from 9 to 10. We'll have an hour break kind of in there, but during that break, we want to have some cornhole games going on. So if you have a cornhole game, bring it up here and allow us to kind of play, and we'll figure out some way to set up a tournament or something. But I think it'd be fun to play with students in that, or families, adults, anybody coming in to kind of do that. But give that time of just fellowship from that 10 to 11. And then we'll go 11 to 12 or 11 to 1, however long anybody wants to stay, having some hot dogs, some chips, and some drinks that will be served there. And so we really want to see everybody come out for that. And just right now, I think the weather looked really, really good. But just enjoy the weather outside and enjoy the ability to be together for a longer period of time. And so I think it's great that we're doing this to grab some fellowship and some cornhole games in. If there's any other outdoor games in, you got bocce, you got whatever you want to set up, let's just bring it along with you, and we'll get some people playing.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's this Sunday. Now, before we go any further, we haven't talked about Dave's outfit for the day. Is it an outfit? Is it costume? And we need Dave to tell us the Scout law.
Yeah,
Scout
so
oath.
what's going on here is Riley and John are both jealous because I've got the lightning bolt, I've got my powwow patch from '92, some kind of purple Floyd Lulu, and this is part of the Colorado Council. So listen, this is a Scout approved broadcast today. We're doing it right.
Wow.
Where's your bandana? I thought that bandana had to be like.
Yeah, listen, I don't have a bandana, and I don't even know what color undershirt you're supposed to wear, and it's not tucked in, so that's a big violation. Yeah. But you know what? It's okay because I'm trained. So
in what?
I don't know. I don't know what any of this stuff means.
No one does. No one does.
No, this was a thrift store purchase, and because I do that sometimes, So
I do that sometimes.
If there's a long sleeve shirt at a thrift store that fits me, I'm buying it, So here we go.
Fair enough. Well, Scout's honor to you.
Oh, and by the way, I'm not a Scout. I have no authority to approve anything by way of the Scouts. So
yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, the purpose of these times together, guys, as you all know, is to talk about kind of the Sermon on Sunday, us following Christ, what that means, just a practical conversation. We're going to put this conversation up on YouTube later today. We're also going to try and live stream this every week, just as a conversation. So if someone's watching after the fact and you're able to join, Tuesdays at 10, we'll be doing this. So Sunday, I was in John 5, really verses 1 through 18. And it's this idea of Jesus showing mercy to this guy. He'd been disabled 38 years, not able to work, laying by this pool, waiting to go into what they thought was like a healing pool, that he might be able to get healed. He has earned his living. It would be hard to earn a living in that day and age as someone who just can't move, can't work. So there's kind of this drama that's set up, and Jesus comes by and he heals the guy, and he asks him the question, kind of pushes back, do you really want to get healed? And the guy's like, yeah, I do want to get healed. And so Jesus heals him, gets better, and then we find him in the temple praising God. So the right kind of story, just a great example of how we're supposed to be when God changes our life. We turn it outward back to praise to the Lord. But it also shows us the kind of person Jesus is, that he's merciful. Verse 2 says, I think it's verse 2, that he noticed or he saw. Nope. It's verse somewhere in there. Oh, verse 1. No, it doesn't matter. Where's it at? Verse 6, verse 6, when Jesus saw him lying there. It says verse 6, he saw him. So Jesus notices this guy. So maybe the question we can start talking about is, how do we notice people? I know I have the issue of sometimes just being in my bubble, being in my world, being in myself, my internal thoughts. How do we, as followers of Christ, notice other people who are different than us, different places than us, different spiritual? How do we notice people?
So I think there's a lot into that piece where it shows Jesus's intentionality, that Jesus is probably going somewhere else, that Jesus is probably headed or has an agenda to be somewhere else. And I think when it's John writing this and kind of really talking about how Jesus's eyes get set away from his goal, his purpose, I don't know, be kind of reading into that it kind of says he notices this guy enough to change his trajectory. And so I think that's huge for us to have that intentionality, that we have to think about, how much can I not only just observe someone's hard time or observe what is happening around me, but kind of in this moment of noticing it, that it has moved me to change my direction. I had this planned, but when I see this, I need to make a U-turn. I need to do something else to help out. I need to move in a different direction. And that's hard to do because usually for our plans or for our next steps or for our next thing on our schedule is like, we are leaving with just enough time to get there. We are leaving with just enough to make sure we can make sure we're not holding anybody else up, or me. Like even today, I'm 3 minutes, like coming in late in the office, but
Oh,
trying
we
to
noticed.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, you noticed.
Scouts are early all the time.
We're not prepared for the day.
But I think it has that little bit of like, man, sometimes it may inconvenience someone else because I've taken mercy, or I've noticed someone else in what's happening in their life and what's happening in a hard time, to give them a blessing, to reach out to them, to just make life better for them. I don't know. And that's just hard to do, not only on a selfish perspective, but just also like, well, I got to respect, like I needed to do a better job today respecting Rylan and Dave's time and get here before the actual time we're supposed to start with this video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I think you're spot on. Like those ideas of selfishness, and especially, the three of us, we've got young kids. We are so like busy with that. And so maybe Dave, how do you balance those things? Like having a family, and then this idea of, especially within evangelicalism and Christian culture, like we're supposed to think outwards. And I'll be honest, some days, like, I feel like I can barely keep my head above water because it's just life. Like, how do we do that?
Yeah. And we're not the only ones, like, I mean, everybody is busy. So it's kind of like, how do we take the time to where our families are taken care of, our basic needs are met, we're getting the stuff done we're supposed to get done, but then also we have time and margin in our lives to notice the people around us. This was on the Sabbath. John 5 is, I mean, he did this miracle, this healing on the Sabbath, and that's what the Jewish leaders bring up later with those guys carrying his mat. So if you think about it, the Sabbath was the day to go to church, to go to the temple. It was a day that you're going, but I think what they had made it was, look at me, look at how nice I'm dressed, and look at how put together my family is, and let's go and kind of do this. And so of all the days of the week, that's the day where you don't notice people around you that are a miracle, that are disabled for 38 years, so that was the day where that it was, look at me. So I think it's the same. I think we have to live in a way to where we can make time for other people, and we can notice other people, and I think a lot of it is, when you leave your house, it's like, are you open to the Spirit to say, hey, whatever you have for me today, whoever you want me to encounter, whoever you want me to talk to, whoever you want me to pray for, I'm kind of giving this day back up to you. And maybe we do that after we confess how hectic it's been and how crazy it's been. Like, hey, I'm kind of stressed. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of whatever. But God, give me opportunities to share your love with people that maybe I wouldn't normally notice, so.
No, that's really good. For me, the thing that comes to mind is how beneficial it would be if we took like the social media apps off our phone. So I think there's this sometimes perceived busyness, and there's a real busyness, but sometimes it's much more perceived by how much we're being entertained, like how much we consume. And it may be an excellent exercise to like make a list, almost like track your time for a week, and how much time are you spending? How much time are we spending on binging Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, social media, getting caught up in like Twitter fights, and I would imagine it would take a considerable chunk of my day, and like maybe even put the phone down would be a simple way to get some margin. It's not a surefire all, because sometimes they're just busy, but sometimes I think in my life I'm perceived more busy than I actually am, because I'm doing things I don't really need to be doing. So maybe come back to prioritize of, if I could put down the phone, my mind would be in the right place. Maybe that's it too. Like for me, of if I begin my day digesting information that's not helpful for me following Christ, I wake up and I get frustrated at a politician or someone online or whatever it is, then like my heart's not in the right place to do the things that you just talked about, Dave, of being that kind of person.
Yeah.
You know, and then Jesus, he shows.
By the way,
Oh,
hold
go
on a
ahead.
second, Rylan.
Yeah.
A shout out to our first Minute with the Ministers live stream, live viewer. Mari Keys is watching. So here we go. Thank you. So,
What's viral?
Shout out.
What does viral mean?
We don't talk about that right now.
Okay. And so Jesus, he shows mercy to this guy after 38 years of him laying by this pool. You know, he's earning a living, but it's kind of different. How do we equate that to the kinds of mercy that we can show today as followers of Christ? Because we're probably not going to go to the pool and try and heal people. But there is this sense of like, Jesus wants us to be merciful. So what does mercy look like in today's context, culture? John, how do you know, if someone's like, I want to show mercy, I want to become like Jesus. How do we do that?
First, I mean, just that drop what you want to do. I mean, I think drop your, what's the words, but like just your, I don't know. I just drop how righteous you are in the moment, I guess, how righteous you may think you are in the moment. Because that's the biggest piece of being able to show mercy, is just dropping that sense of arrogance or pride to allow someone else's life to speak to you and allow yourself to just listen in and hear what's happening, so that mercy can be extended, so that mercy can be shown. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, especially kind of my personality is much more even on the efficient side. And so like I want to step into a situation where it's like, how do I process this fast enough to find a solution? And then how can I help you get there to get that solution, when some of them, I mean, most of the time they're not really looking for the solution as much as they're just looking for that ear and that ability to see, like, can you be merciful enough to me, not so much find your way of solving this problem, or even finding your way of showing what justice or what, I don't know, what rightness should be done in this situation, but more of just like, can we just rest? So I think that's a big piece for me, is not just jumping to a conclusion of this person's actions or this person's lifestyle or this person's decision making, but just, man, can I just wait and hear and probably be with them for a while? That allows them to, one, feel like mercy's been extended, grace has been extended, in the perspective of listening to them as a person and not listening to them as something that needs to be fixed or a solution that needs to be resolved, put in.
There you go. What about you, Dave? How does mercy extend itself in your life?
Yeah, you know, and I love that how we're trying to be practical with this, but I was thinking of Micah 6:8, you know, what does the Lord require? To act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with your God. So John's kind of saying this, you know, it's like there's this idea of justice and this idea of mercy, and there's the idea of humility. And I think, you know, in order to kind of extend mercy to others, we do have to be humble. You know, we have to acknowledge and realize that, hey, you know, I'm in need. I need people to be merciful to me, and to show me grace. And I, you know, and I don't know, you know, I haven't done a lot of studies on defining these words, but I have heard that, you know, grace is kind of getting what you don't deserve, and mercy is kind of giving what other people don't deserve, or something like that, you know. And so I thought, okay, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, it's kind of like, how do I, you know, give people as like, I'm able to forgive you, I'm able to get past myself, and I'm humbly able to kind of give my time or my attention to other people, even though they may not do that to me, you know, and that's okay. We have to be okay with that. You know, I think that's part of the humility that's involved with this, is kind of just showing and giving your time and attention, your effort, and that kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of important, you know, is, you know, I'm not the most important person right now. It's those people that are around me that I'm encountering that I need to, and that's mercy, you know, it's kind of getting myself out of the way, so to speak.
No, that's good. Yeah. So Jesus, he asked the guy, do you really want to be made well? And, you know, that word humility is so important, because I don't think it was a passive aggressive, do you really want to be made well? I think he was sincerely asking, you know, do you really understand what I'm asking, what you're asking, what you're wanting? And, I think part of our mercy is to help people is, like with our kids, is to not let them live kind of in that place forever, which can be really, really a challenge. So like we'll have people, come by the church, call the church for kind of help. And sometimes we have to address, your need is bigger than just what you're asking for right now. And sometimes that comes through relationships. Sometimes that, you're able to, every situation is just a little different. So, but it's not, I don't think it's that we don't ever say, what needs to be said. Cause that's what Jesus does. But that word of humility, absolutely no passive aggressive. Do you really understand what you're asking for? No, just, it's a big thing. 38 years. That's a life change, a huge life change. And so, I think mercy kind of like that of there's this idea here. Jesus the mercy isn't just the physical healing. It's the healing of the whole person. So it's more than just the disability. It's the soul, it's the spirit, and all those issues have to be addressed. And so yeah, mercy is really tough, but I think it goes back to noticing people, not being too busy to notice people. And it may start for some of us in our family, being merciful with your spouse. I've said and thought for years, we'll so often talk about like loving others. Well, that's got to start in the home. Like, if you can't do that with your spouse, it's going to be really hard to do that with other people outside the home, right? Like, or I kind of see that as hypocrisy. Like if you can't love, you would never talk to a stranger the way you just talk to your spouse. And so, maybe there's some, I don't know. I'm going to think about that some more. Well, anything else? We've been going for 20 minutes. Anything else on mercy? Should we be merciful and cut this off? Wordplay. So, all right. Well, we will be back next week. Hopefully you'll join us next week. Hopefully you'll be here Sunday. We love you. If you need anything from any one of us, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to pray for you, serve you in any way that we can within measured reason. Like I don't have $1 million, but I will do, I'll do what I can. I'd love to. Love you all. So, all right, guys, we'll see everybody next week.
All right. Bye.